The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to The Best Just Got Better, a CRM 2015 preview. Thank you for joining us. It's my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today, Mike Hammonds, Director of Solution Architects at Infinity Infosystems.
Great. Thank you, Matt, and appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your busy days to join us here. We're going to keep the session fairly short. It'll probably be around 30 minutes, but we really are excited about what's coming. So this is a nice little preview of CRM 2015. And before we do that, just a quick little housekeeping. Most of you probably already know this, but if you want to ask questions, feel free to submit those. There'll be a little orange icon on your screen, probably sitting along the right-hand side. Just click that, and that should expand the window if it's not already expanded. Type in your questions and be sure to hit send, and then we'll answer those questions towards the end, and any that we don't get to, we'll be sure to follow up with you as well. But just very briefly, some really exciting stuff coming out with 2015. There's no official date as of yet. It's still just Q4, and that's calendar Q4. For those of you that know the Microsoft calendars are a little different. But we're hearing more than likely, late November to early mid-December. As that number or as that date gets solidified, we'll certainly communicate that to everyone. If you're online, you're going to be scheduled, and you'll start to get notifications through your CRM Online and Office 365 portals. And then we'll also be communicating that information as well. So in case you miss it there, or if you're not on the, don't have access to that system, you'll still be aware that it's coming. And so with that, let's jump right into some of the really awesome stuff that's coming. Okay, so first of all, some nice search enhancements. And so you're going to see at the very top a navigation bar, a new search field there. And this is for the first time we finally get multi-entity search. Woohoo! This is very cool in that we now can have a simple search term go across, for example, accounts, contacts, and opportunities. And it will show us in kind of this little, metro-ish or new UI experience and show you all of the entities that it finds for that particular search keyword. You can also narrow down the list, as you see here. So if I just wanted contacts or accounts or opportunities, you can narrow the list. And then you also can configure your search fields. So depending on how many fields you want to be searched across those entities, then you can configure those as well. So some really nice stuff coming from a search capability. And then you'll also see that there's, from the very top, very simple and quick and easy to get to advanced find. So those advanced find fans, just click the additional search icon furthest to the right of the toolbar, and that'll pull up the advanced find that you currently have to kind of go at the entity level to get to. So makes it a lot easier to get to search and to advanced search very quickly. Another big thing coming out is some quick create improvements. Okay, so for those of you that are pretty heavy users, you'll know that if you say, for example, create an account or an opportunity and you don't already have that contact in the database, well, you got two options, right? Go ahead and create that account or contact with that account or opportunity without the contact, and then go back in, create the contact, and then go and link it up. Or vice versa, you stop what you're doing, create the contact, then go back and create the account or opportunity or whatever the associated entity is, and then you finally get to create the contact. So now you'll have the ability to combine quick create forms. So in this case, if I were to create an account and I didn't have the contact already in there, then I'll, in the same form, be able to create the account and the contact at the same time. So no more kind of closing forms down and going back into different entities and creating separate records and then going in and linking them. So ultimately, this should add, a lot more from a usability perspective and be able allow people to be able to enter in information much more efficiently with a lot less clicks. So that's a great one coming. Okay. On the mobile front, as most of you know or might know, if you're what's traditionally called in the technical terms the MoCA client, or the mobile, I think it's just mobile client access is what that stands for, but it's the current iPad and smartphone and Windows tablet and Android tablet access. As you're probably aware, if you've ever used this, is you do not currently have any offline capability other than you get to view some recently cached records, and it's still kind of a mystery as far as how many records it caches, because it's one of those it depends things. Ultimately, if you are offline, you have zero ability to enter any data or modify any data. So once it goes offline, it goes into read-only. So we at least get one step closer, right? So in those times where you don't have Wi-Fi and you don't have cellular, or you're in one of those buildings that's like a Faraday cage, or they say turn your cell phones and Wi-Fi off, like hospitals and some large financial institutions, things along those lines. You now will have the ability to create what's called drafts if you're in the offline mode. So basically, it's just simple record creation in an offline mode. Okay, so what it will do then, if you're in offline, it will allow you to say, in this example, you'll see that I'm creating a lead in an offline mode. So it'll allow you to create that, and then what it will do is it will store that information in a new section called draft records. And then once you're back online, you can then go in and select the draft records that you've created in offline, and that can be a lead, a contact, an account, an opportunity. And then it will allow you to synchronize that information back to the CRM system. So still not really full offline capability, like I think most people want and some organizations truly need. But it is a great step in the right direction, and now gives us at least some ability to do some offline editing and record creation and then synchronize those changes. So keep in mind, if you still need full offline, we do have solutions for you there, and if you have that need, let us know, and we'd be happy to kind of discuss those options with you. But like I say, it's just really a great step in that right direction. And then finally, along with that, another enhancement is you'll now be able to select the dashboards that you want to be able to be on the mobile devices. So today, you essentially just get really one dashboard, and it's the sales dashboard on the device. So now you can actually go in and select which dashboards you want to be available for the clients, right, and the mobile clients. Not only that, they've also added now you can pin any of those dashboards and actually any of the records to your Windows Start screen. So if you're a Windows 8 user in particular, and if you're not, I highly recommend it. I love it. I've been using it for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months now, and on my Surface Pro 3 device, by the way. And I highly recommend it. It's just nice capability to add basically a shortcut to your desktop to say an opportunity, hot opportunity that you're working, or to your favorite contacts and customers, things along those lines. But then you also can pin any of those records to your home screen as well, just like you can today in in different entity records, but you can now also pin the dashboards to your home screen as well. So you can have multiple different dashboards pinned to your home screen. So some real nice capabilities coming in the mobile application. Okay, next up, some really cool stuff here in business process improvements. And so one of the big ones, if you've used business process, it's a great start, allows us to really surface different processes or workflows in a very easy to consume manner, kind of point and click, and in a guiding way, right? So if you, for example, have opportunities and you have a process where you go from lead to qualification to maybe creating a quote or proposal, then to maybe doing a demo, and then maybe to finally closing, and you have tasks within each of those stages, you can very quickly and easily configure that so that it's always kind of there at the top in that process bar, right? Well, the challenge is in the current application, you really don't have any branching capabilities. And so, drum roll, bang, we now have branching capabilities. Okay, so what does that mean? That means we can do some if, then, else, as well as some and or type logic to our workflows and to our business processes. Okay, so in this example, let's just say that your organization sells both products and services. Using this logic, we can now have different branches of our process take place based upon if this happens to be a product opportunity, a service opportunity, or if it's a product and service opportunity. And so you can now kind of mold and combine all of the different processes into one entire process that's very specific to the product and or service. Okay, so lots of additional capabilities here that opens up for being able to do, in particular, non-programmatic guided selling processes, or how do I qualify a lead properly? How do we move a case from beginning to end? And now we can do things along the lines of if it's invoicing related case, and you need somebody in accounting to help you. Or if it's a product related case, you might need somebody in support or engineering to help you. Or if it's a sales related case, and you might need the sales team involved. So now you can take all three of those and include that in one process, and using the if, then, do this, else, do that. Oh, and by the way, and if it's this and that, then you can do even more stuff. So some really, really nice enhancements there. I think it's going to just really open up the application from a usability perspective. Kind of related to that, the other big limitation that we've had, and this is really one of the most requested features, particularly from customers who do a little bit of programming, or partners like us who do a lot of programming for customers to meet certain business rules. The business process flows are now opened up to programmability, meaning we now can access them through code and manipulate the process through code, whereas before, CRM 2015, and that means today, we can't really access that process flow bar really in any way. It's kind of, stuck in terms of, somebody has to actually physically click something in order for it to happen. But now with programmability, we can say, for example, have a field on the form that once you change the form, let's just say from 50% probability to 75% probability, we can now automatically progress the business process flow in that process flow bar to the next stage, right? Or expose and hide and unhide additional or different tasks. Okay, so really, again, another area that I think is really going to open up the possibilities of being able to address a lot more complex needs in the business process flow area. Okay, so some really nice stuff there. So moving on, another big one that has been requested for a lot is some Outlook and sync enhancements. Okay, so traditionally, we pretty much have been stuck with the fields that we're allowed to sync between CRM and Outlook. Okay, and now we are in particular around the additional phone number fields, email fields, so those things that now more and more people have. A business email address. They have a personal email address. They might have 2 or 3 email addresses if they are consultants and they work for different organizations, things along those lines. Now we'll be able to select those additional contact type fields and have those synchronized. But not only that, we can even decide if they sync one way, so I want it to go from Outlook to CRM and that direction only, or I can go the opposite direction, from CRM to Outlook only. Or I can have it go in both directions. So if I change it in CRM, it will synchronize to Outlook, and if I change it in Outlook, it'll synchronize to CRM. So we've got now a lot more flexibility in those syncing rules, as well as which fields. Okay. Not only that, we also now finally, this has been a big request from a lot of people, if you happen to have an attachment in an appointment, and if you think about it, if we have an appointment and we're going to meet with somebody, oftentimes, we have an agenda or a presentation or a document or a contract or a proposal that we're going to review with them. So now if you have a attachment in, an appointment, that too you can set up to synchronize back to CRM. Okay, so now you don't have to always be in the inbox and click the track and then have it just synchronized from an email. You can now have those attachments synchronized from an appointment. So another big addition there. Okay. Oh, and then the other one there is what's called private notes, and I think this is also a lot of people have asked, well, what happens if I enter a note and it's really just for my own purposes? It's kind of just a reminder for me, or just maybe it's I want to put in somebody's personality trait, but I don't want everybody else to see that. Then you can flag a note as private, and then that will not synchronize any information that's flagged as private as well. So you get some additional flexibility there to meet certain business needs. Okay, so some really good stuff there. Moving on, product improvement. So this is really where a tremendous amount of time was spent in enhancements. So a lot of requests we've had over the last couple of years is, can we have CRM provide product suggestions, right? It's the cross-sell, upsell scenario. It's the suggested sell scenario, right? And if you think about it, it makes sense. Oftentimes a customer might buy, a product A and B, and, unless you really are very, very adept at kind of mixing and matching all your products, there might be a complementary product or service that you should also offer to the customer, right? Would you like fries with that, sir? Would you like to have a large Coke instead of a medium Coke? It's part of a sales process because it works, right? And sometimes it just reminds people that, oh, hey, you know what, that's a great idea. Yes, I would like that. Thank you. So now we have the ability to set up product hierarchies, create bundles, and create properties. So what does that mean? Well, that means now that we can associate suggested products for products that we sell. So in this case, you see on the screen, if I am going to sell somebody Office 365, you might want to suggest to them, oh, hey, by the way, there's a special going on with CRM Online, and you can get both for the same low price of $65 per user per month. Would you like to add CRM Online? Okay, so think about that in context of your own world and your own products and services. Now you'll have a quick little easy suggestion area that will then suggest additional products and services, and you can build your own rules around what those suggested products and services are, right? So really, really nice there. So bundles, what do we mean by bundles? Well, you can kind of think of this as, today we kind of have kits, and a kit is, if you're in the manufacturing world, it's oftentimes called a bill of materials. But basically, if I order product A, it really consists of, 4 or 5 products that kind of make up that one product, right? So these 4 products make up product A. So you now will have a lot more flexibility around bundling the different products together. So if I want to sell a productivity pack, then that might have 3, 4, or 5 different more products associated with that productivity pack. And I can even have special pricing just for that bundled package, right? So it's really nice to be able to have all of those kind of in one place, and I don't have to kind of build those on my own. And in addition to that, it will now kind of flow through all areas of the product. So it'll be available at the product level, at the quote level, the order level, and the invoice level. Okay, so now in one place, build those bundles, build those associations, and it'll go across all areas. Okay. Another thing that is associated with the product enhancements is what's, unglamorously called properties. But it's really what it means is I can now add things such as color, I can add sizes, I can add counts, I can add version numbers. So, and today we can do those things, but we have to either write code or we have to write additional configuration entities and do, a fair amount of kind of workarounds, if you will. But now we can have things that say, I want this in, in yellow or orange or blue. And it's still the same product. It's now an attribute of the product or a property of the product. Same thing, do you want it in small, medium, or large, or extra large? Do you want it with, a quantity of 5, and by the way, if you do it with a quantity of 10, you get a different price break. Things along those lines that make it a lot easier for us to generate quotes and orders and to even offer those suggested upsells and cross-sales. But it's just really extending that capability. Okay? And then finally, the suggestions that we had here, and I think I just crossed, that might have been a duplicate slide. So we'll go on to relationships, but basically, in addition to that, we have what's called, and this is more on the administrator side, but when I'm setting up my products, today, if I have to enter in that product with a price list multiple times, there's a lot of clicking going on and a lot of re-entering and redoubling of data. So now I have the ability to do clone the product. So now I can create a product once, assign it to a particular price list, and then clone it, and then assign it to another price list, and then clone it again and assign it to, say, so first one is a retail price list, second one might be a wholesale price list, third one might be a government price list. So today, in order to do all that, seriously, it's a tremendous amount of clicking and lookups and all that. Now, with the simple click of a clone button, it makes it so much easier. You'll also now be able to do a preview, and what that's going to allow you to do is sometimes, especially if you have different price lists and different kits, if you will, to really kind of test it out and see what it looked like to the end user, you would have to go in and create a test opportunity and then add that product or that kit to then see what it would look like to the end user. But now this nice little preview capability is going to help just see what it will look like to the end user just by clicking that button. Okay, so you don't have to go close out of the products, go over the opportunity, create a test opportunity. You don't have to do all that. So again, it's saving a tremendous amount of clicks, particularly when you're first setting up your stuff. And then here's another big one, another drum roll, importing and exporting products. Okay, so this has always been, let's just use the friendly term, a pain, and I won't finish the rest of that out, for people who create products in CRM, and then let's just say maybe you create it in a test or a QA environment. In order to move that, products just never really migrated very easily from an import-export capability perspective. It can kind of sort of be done, but you have to know specifically in which orders, and you have to link them correctly, and even then it sometimes just doesn't work out the way you expect it to. So now, introduced with 2013, there's this thing called configuration migration tool that now will allow us to very quickly and easily take products, and if I've associated hierarchies and the properties and the bundling and the suggestions, I can now package all that up using the configuration migration tool and then now move that over to another instance. And that can be our own instance, or in the case of Infinity, what we'll often do is we'll do some development on our own servers and our own test environments here for customer, and then we have to end up going and recreating it. Well, guess what? That might take a couple hours or more depending on, how complex those product associations are. So now we create it once, export it with the configuration migration tool, go over to your system, import it, and literally within a few minutes we've now taken it from one system to another system. Okay, so great stuff on the back end administrative side of things from that perspective. And then finally, another piece here is territory-based price lists. Okay, so we have seen this from time to time where certain markets might have the ability to have different pricing. So if you've got a West Coast and an East Coast, and you might need to have different pricing for those different markets, you now can have territory-based price lists. Another example of where you can use that is, and you can think of like creating a government price list as a territory. So anybody from a sales perspective or a support perspective that works on government customers, you can now just create a government territory and then use that as a price list. So now you can have additional flexibility of not only having a government-specific price list, but you can use territories and even use that to maybe get around some additional limitations that you might have seen in the past. Okay, so again, all really, really good stuff around the product areas. Now let's move into another one called hierarchies. Okay, and this one is pretty sweet, and it's now you're not going to be able to see hierarchies in a visual way. And that can be hierarchies of, as I've got here on the screen in this example, of organizations. But you can also do product hierarchies. You can do user hierarchies, account hierarchies, contact hierarchies, and even extend that into custom entities that you might have. So let's just say maybe in your organization you created a project entity, and you want to be able to create this visual representation of a master project with associated sub-projects that might also have some associated sub-projects under that. Okay? So you'll be able to see those types of hierarchies in both a tree view as well as in a tile view in the more visual way. And you even have the ability to decide what fields that you want in that tiled view. Now there's some limitations, I think it's 4 or 5, but the nice thing is you'll be able to have those fields exposed in that visual way. So you could say for a contact, I want their title, their email address, and their phone number and their account. So with one-click access, you can get to that information, and you'll also be able to associate some actions. So I want to create an appointment. I want to create a task. I want to do some things related to somebody in that hierarchy. Okay? So some really nice additions there from a hierarchical perspective. Okay? That even extends to, for example, and I'll get to this in a second actually, but the security now will model some of the hierarchies. But before I get to that, once you have created a hierarchy, you'll now see in your advanced find 2 additional filters or operators that we like to call them. And it's the under and not under. Okay, so this is give me all accounts that are under organization ABC. Right, so now if you do have those parent-child relationships from an organization perspective or from a contact perspective, you now can search on those using advanced find and either show me everybody that's under this organization or show me all the people that are not under this person, things along those lines. So you get the under and not under searching capabilities. Still don't see the not searching in there yet, like show me all accounts not in a particular area. Maybe that's coming in another update, but I think this bodes well that those types of complex searches are being added. So hopefully we'll see that one soon as well. But I'll tell you what, I'm thrilled with just seeing some of this stuff. So along with that, and this is where, from a hierarchy perspective, one of the big additions is hierarchy security. Okay? And we've actually had a couple of requests along these lines, and I'm kidding, actually more than a couple, because if you think about it, a lot of organizations are still structured hierarchically, right? So, one person reports to another who reports to another, et cetera. So now you'll be able to set your security model to match your hierarchy model, okay? And today, we can kind of do that, but there's really a lot of behind-the-scenes manipulation that we have to do. For example, many of you we've done this for, where we might have to use Scribe or a spreadsheet or a third-party system that's kind of tracking and managing the territories and the hierarchical structure of the people in those territories, and then we'll use that to then kind of change the structures, either the business units or the territories or the managing and reporting structures in CRM. And so, we could get there, but there was just a lot of it was all workaround. And so now, out of the box, we'll be able to create hierarchical sorts security models. So if I'm a rep and then I have security hierarchy turned on, then I only see my accounts and contacts. But then my manager automatically sees all the people that report to him, and his manager sees all the people's contacts and accounts that report to him. So literally that makes it just point and click simple versus having to do some workaround type stuff to be able to get to that. Okay, so some really good stuff there. Now, and then there's just kind of an example of that. So that would follow that type of a structure there. And you see the same thing. You can kind of see it in the tree view and the title view. So moving on to a little bit of case management. So we did have in the spring 2014 update some really nice enhancements. So that was around being able to relate one case to another, some entitlement updates, so which products and services are entitled to support contracts. There was also a timer added, but there was also some capabilities like dynamic routing and queuing rules, and merging some records, and even parent-child relationships. But now what we've also got, the big downfall of the timer aspect in particular is sometimes people need to pause the timer. So let's say that you sell service contracts that are based upon number of hours utilized. And so, sometimes in a business situation, you might want to stop the clock because what you've done is you've asked the customer to go do something for you, right? And so your people are just going to stop what they're doing in order to wait for that customer to get back to you. So you don't want that time to be counted against their service contract, because you're not, and your people aren't really doing anything. You're waiting for the customer to do something. So you now have the ability to say, hey, Mr. Customer, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. Do a calibration and send me your results, something along those lines. I can pause my timer, and then let's just say the next day, customer sends you the calibration results. You can then go open up the case and resume the timer. And then for the entire time that you're working on it, it'll then count only against the time that you're actually doing something versus the entire time that you're waiting, right? So just a nice way to provide additional, better customer service, and pause and restart those times. Okay. Not only that, but related to that, you'll also be able to trigger the stop and start of the timing based upon different statuses. And now you can even add your own statuses. So as you kind of see here, if I want this timer to be on hold on any of these status values, I just simply double-click them and move them over to here. So anything that shows up in this list over here will automatically stop my timer if I change the status of that case. Let's just say, for example, to pending, then it'll stop the timer. And then when I say that resume, it'll then automatically start the timer. So again, it kind of helps with less clicks to the end user and fits more naturally into your business process of how you handle cases and how you start and stop service level agreements and things along those lines. Okay. So what else do we have? Another goodie here is calculated and roll-up fields. Yay, I hear all of you cheering on that one. Okay, and if I'm catching you by surprise, and what do I mean by that? If you've ever used goals, that's kind of the only place today that we really have roll-up fields. So you can, in CRM today, create, let's just say, a sales goal, and let's just say by quarter, of closed won opportunities. Right, so $1 million a quarter is your sales rep's goal, and you can set that goal, and then it will automatically track the closed won opportunities and roll that up to your goal area. Well, that's always been the downfall. Is it's great, but if I can only use it in goals, it doesn't allow me to do things like show me the number of open opportunities for an account. Show me the number of total cases for a particular customer, and I want to see that at the account level, or I want to see that at the contact level. Things along those lines have been possible, but we would have to write a plugin, we would have to write JavaScript, we would somehow have to write code in order to do that. So now all of that goes away, and we can do these roll-up fields and have them automatically roll up on any entity and on any type of fields, right? And so they usually do have to be, number fields if I'm calculating sums and averages and things like that. But the nice thing is now we can have those fields really on any entity. And you can also do calculated fields now. Okay, so we can do some basic calculations in like the business rules area. But now that's expanded into more than just the field, the business rule area, and now we can actually have the system calculate those. Not only that, today those calculated fields like at the business rule area were implemented on what they call client side, or was implemented in JavaScript. So they don't always work correctly on mobile devices. Now, these are all performed at the server level. So whether you're CRM Online or CRM on-premise, they're calculated at the server level. So that means we now no longer have to worry that JavaScript doesn't fire. It's being calculated on the server level and updates the data at the field level. And so that means it'll work across any device, whether I'm on a smartphone, whether I'm on a tablet, or whether I'm just on a regular browser. Those work ubiquitously. And I think that's the word for today, ubiquitous. Okay. Really nice. And in addition to that, you can also now use those fields and the results of those fields on reports, on charts, in views, and forms. So, woohoo! Finally, we get some nice capabilities around complex calculation and roll-up fields across the entities. Okay, so that should get everybody excited just on that one alone, I think. And so now, just going to kind of wrap up a little bit here and give you some other what I like to call administrative nuggets. So some of those are centered around customizable help. Okay, so that's always been a lockdown area. If you customize an area and you wanted it to show up in the help files, you really couldn't do that. You kind of had to create your own separate help file, and with a little JavaScript magic or a little pop-up tooltip magic, you had to kind of do it yourself in those workaround ways. But now you'll be able to actually create specific help sections in the help files, whether you're CRM Online or on-premise, and have your custom specific fields show up in the help files. Okay, so really nice there. The other big one, which I think was, one that was a big on my list, is why do I gotta, every time I go to a new browser, or if I don't click through that little tour thing, why do I gotta see that pop up every single time I log in? Right? So now there is a global turn off the CRM navigation tour promo thing that drove a lot of customers and a lot of users crazy, right? So now we'll finally be able to turn those off and turn those on. Okay. And then the other is, as we kind of covered a little bit, the hierarchical data, so I'm not going to go through that, but a couple others are create and edit CRM Online regional instances. So this is great, particularly for the larger organizations that roll out across different countries and nationalities. You can now create instances and choose which instance you want those rolled out on. So you can have a North America instance, an EMEA instance, an Asia instance, a Latin America instance, and that can either be for testing purposes or production purposes either way. So some nice ads there. Keep in mind that's online, customers only. We talked about the field synchronization, and also, here's another big one, another drum roll, social listening. Previously today, up until today, or up until the release, I guess, social listening wasn't really part of the on-premise capability, and so now you'll be able to include the integration of CRM social listening, or create this social listening integrated with your CRM on-premise as well. So another nice ad there. If you don't know about social listening, stay tuned to your inboxes. You'll see we'll be having some additional sessions on some things around dynamics marketing, around social listening, and some of the other new capabilities. But it's really a great way, particularly if you're into social media monitoring and seeing what kind of conversations are happening out there. Finally, on-premise customers, you'll be able to integrate that into CRM. So with that, there is a link here. You'll be able to download this presentation as well as view it online, but I put a link into the preview guide, which goes over what we just went over in a little bit more detail. I also added a few nuggets that aren't in that release preview, so make sure that you grab both this presentation as well as the preview document. And then if you have other questions or follow-up, if we don't get them here in the questions, then let us know, and you can contact me from my contact information as well, or just on our standard stuff. So with that, I'm going to answer a few questions here as we wrap up at 1:45. Question is, hi, when are these changes coming? She missed the first part. Today, we don't yet have an official release date. It is just, at this point in time, still a Q4 release. So that is calendar Q4. We'll see that in all likelihood end part of November to probably mid-December, unless, of course, these things can change. But as long as testing goes well, we'll see that before the end of this year. And again, if you're an online customer, you'll get notified of when your upgrade will be scheduled. And so in addition to that, Infinity, when we have more details, we will also be communicating that to you as well. So next question, can you view security models in a hierarchy? And hopefully, yes, we answered that one. So absolutely you can. You can view the security models in a hierarchy, and I have a screenshot in here for that. So good question. Thank you for that. And then another one, which I think I also already answered, is Dynamics 2015 already available? If so, how many are using it? And again, at this point in time, customers do not have access to it. It's in kind of, still beta preview, if you will. So it's in limited release and in more of a testing release. As we get more details that we can publicly announce, then we'll do so. But then also, obviously, Microsoft will announce those as well. Can we use calculated fields for additional calculations? And if I'm interpreting that question correctly, I would say yes. And I think what that means is, let's just say I've got one calculated field that is maybe rolls up the number of opportunities for a customer. And I then want to use the results of that field in another calculation. My understanding is, and I have to fully test this, but what's happening behind the scenes is the server is doing those calculations and just merely putting the result in the field. So yes, you should then be able to take the result of the calculated field and use that in an additional calculation. Now, a little caveat there is, because it's happening on the server, it's not, it's not real time. It happens more on a timed basis. So you'll probably want to be careful if you want to do something like that, to keep in mind that, if I'm using it in a view and I see a calculated field and I want to use that calculator and I want to see that real time, that's not going to happen. But if you just wanted to have that data updated, and I don't know the timings yet, but I think it's every 5 minutes or 15 minutes or something like that, then those you can do that. Okay. So with that, that takes us right up to about 1:45. I don't see any other questions. So with that, we're going to call this a wrap. Thank you all again for your time today, and this will be posted, I think, either by Thursday or Friday, so be looking for that, and you'll be able to download that, and an email will come out letting you know that. And hope you have an enjoyable rest of your afternoon. So take care, everybody. Thank you, and have a good day. Bye-bye.